Back again. Freedom Freckles Show. October 29th, 2013. No politics today. Well, everything's politics at the end of the day. But I understand that a lot of people don't know where we're going because they don't know where we've been. Sounds contrite, I know. And I'm not talking about history itself, because the amount of revisionist history out there is appalling at the end of the day. The textbooks, the different groups, maybe even say secret societies, members of certain organizations that don't want people to know how they were manipulated and subjugated, and pushed into a certain direction. And so tonight I thought, again, I would read something I wrote a long time ago. And it addresses, well, you'll see. Every day I wake up to more scandals, more corruption, more death, more genocide, more war, more regulations, more government spying, more government intrusion, and government theft. Every day there is more ignorance, more apathy, more moral decline, and more ethical indifference. It makes me sick and somewhat sad to see what we have become, and to see where we are heading. My only solace is that I know I'm not alone, and neither is the human race. Help is arriving, but only to those who can understand more than and ascend past a three-dimensional world will have any chance of being saved. Children of light, the time has come to awaken. It is far better to grasp the universe as it really is than to persist in delusion, however satisfying and reassuring. Carl Sagan. And now back to me. Our species needs and deserves for its occupants to always live with minds wide awake and a basic understanding of how the world works. Everything in the universe has a purpose. Indeed, the invisible intelligence that flows through everything in a purposeful fashion is also flowing through you. It strikes some of us as obvious that in a universe where everything has at least one purpose, where there are billions upon billions of stars capable of giving light, hence life, to entire galaxies, that surely there are other species of life somewhere out there. Not only species of plant life, microbial life, and elemental life, but intelligent life capable of speech, critical thinking, invention, compassion, empathy, and many other characteristics the ignorant and uninformed would consider human traits that evolved over time. Those of us that believe such life exists outside our atmosphere usually follow up with one question. What would they think if they visited our planet? I think it's safe to assume that they would be extremely ashamed and embarrassed of how we have used our talents and gifts, resources and knowledge that we have at our disposal. We have made a toxic wasteland out of our uniquely amazing position in the universe. After being gifted with enough sunlight, water, minerals, elements, plant life, and other essential requirements for a planet to thrive, what have we done with it? And by we, I refer to the human race as a whole. From our very first incarnations all the way through to the genetically and psychologically manipulated post-diluvian form that most of us hold today. And like I said, our species needs and deserves for its occupants to always live with minds wide awake and a basic understanding of how the world works.
I imagine that right now you're feeling a bit like Alice, tumbling down the rabbit hole. You can
say that.
I can see it in your eyes. You have the look of a man who accepts what he sees because he is expecting to wake up. Ironically, this is not far from the truth. Do you believe in fate, Neo?
No.
Why not?
Because I don't like the idea that I'm not in control of my life.
I know exactly what you mean. Let me tell you why you're here. You're here because you know something. What you know you can't explain, but you feel it. You felt it your entire life. That there's something wrong with the world. You don't know what it is, but it's there, like a splinter in your mind, driving you mad. It is this feeling that has brought you to me. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you want to know what it is? The Matrix is everywhere. It is all around us. Even now, in this very room. You can see it when you look out your window or when you turn on your television. You can feel it when you go to work, when you go to church, when you pay your taxes. It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo. Like everyone else, you were born into bondage, born into a prison that you cannot smell or taste or touch. A prison for your mind. Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself. This is your last chance. After this, there is no turning back. You take the blue pill. The story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill. You stay in Wonderland. And I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes. Remember, all I'm offering is the truth, nothing more. Follow me.
Okay, yeah, today's show is going to be something we're going to discuss all week. It's going to be the bullshit and the lies that we've been fed. I'm going to touch everything I can. Nothing will be off bounds, out of bounds, should I say, and nothing off limits. And today, we're going to look at examples from Egypt with Ramses II and witches. Let's start with some basic concepts. We live in an age of lies. Every day of your life, you're literally being drowned in lies. Lies by government, lies by advisors, lies by the corporate media. Truth has become a valuable commodity that the government is economizing. Liars, meaning good convincing liars like psychopaths, sociopaths, who invents no guilt when they lie, those type. They lie because they're able to get what they want from people, especially if those people are conditioned from childhood to tell and to believe that others will tell them the truth. Now, it may seem that I'm stating the obvious, but the point I want to make is that all ruling power is is the willingness and ability to do things that the ruled, i.e. us, may not, or have been conditioned to believe that they cannot do. You're taught not to steal, for example, yet the government reserves to itself the right to steal, obfuscating the theft with words like excise, confiscation, pillage, taxation, and the extreme of conquest, I guess. And you're taught not to murder, right? Yet government reserves to itself the right to murder, disguising the killing with words like capital punishment, assassination, termination with extreme prejudice, and, I guess, war. And then, we're taught not to lie, right? And it stands to reason that in this area of human behaviors, rulers are as adverse to the rules imposed on you as any other. As eager as rulers are to steal and murder, they are equally eager to lie to their people to get what they want. In today's enlightened age of alternative media, that's what this is, and global internet communications, which I'm using, lies by rulers are quickly laid bare. Yet most people remain trapped by their beliefs of what they imagine their rulers to be, and greet each newly revealed mendacity with, "What? Oh gosh, I can't, what? Our ruler lied to us?" And the question is more properly ought to be, when don't our rulers lie to us? The historical fact is that all rulers pretty much lie all of the time, and each newly revealed lie ought not to be thought of as a shocking isolated incident, but merely as a continuation of, standard operating bullshit. In short, the vast majority of what you are being told by rulers is a lie, and the rare moment of absolute truth are rare and as precious as a gem, and definitely worthy of celebration. Now, of all the things that I was pondering over when I was at work today for my 8.5 hour shift, I usually just put thought into what I'm going to do when I get on the radio or the internet for 30 minutes. And I thought, let's look at a great example of early bullshit, let's just say. And the one that popped into my mind, first of all, was the divine right of kings, or rule by divine right. Okay, so here's what I put down. Rule by divine right is the oldest of the frauds perpetrated by self-declared rulers upon those that wish to rule. It is a simple system. You just merely claim that there's an invisible power in the sky that has appointed you as his or her agent on earth, and then promptly torture and burn at the stake anyone who demands to see paperwork of such an absurd deal. And the most potent form of this scam was exploited by the pharaohs to get the masses to build the pyramids, among other things. And the way they did that was the promise of life after death. Pleasant if you did what you were told, and then quite unpleasant for anyone with a more independent spirit. Once the dominant mode of rulership in primitive societies, this form of governance remains as a vestigial state in many other commercialized religions all around the world, that extract obedience and wealth from the masses based on some imaginary playmate in the sky. Now we're going to talk about Ramses II, who I'd heard this a long time ago and then also read it in I wouldn't say a secret copy of Egyptian history, but it's one that was suppressed for a very long time. Here we go. But the date here is 1274 BC, or what they put. Ramses II, or Ramses the Great, by his own admission, was in the middle of his campaign to expand Egypt's territory, not unlike the behavior of present-day Israel and the United States. So Ramses invaded the Hittite Empire to the north, and fought a decisive battle at the city of Kadesh in May of that year. And war in May, go look that up on the occult calendar. Tricked by 2 Hittite spies, Ramses led his men into a trap and almost lost his entire army at Kadesh. Ramses was forced to sign a Treaty of Kadesh, history's earliest known non-aggression pact, and retreat back to Egypt, ending Egypt's period of expansion to the north. Ramses, and I called him the maybe not so great as he thought he was the second, headed back home and started building huge temples to prove how much of a big macho manly man he was. But Ramses had a problem. The Egyptian people were brainwashed into thinking that Ramses II was the instrument of the gods, and that indeed he was a god himself, and therefore infallible. So Ramses II, knowing that the people of Egypt were hardly likely to ever travel into the Hittite kingdom to the north and find out what really happened, simply lied to his people. The walls of Ramses' temple, the ancient Egyptian version of CNN, were covered with carved depictions showing Ramses defeating the Hittites at Kadesh. The Canaanites, another group, did find out, and emboldened by Ramses' lack of victory, revolted, thereby ending Egypt's domination beyond the Sinai. So successful was Ramses' propaganda on his temples that his victory at Kadesh became the most accepted version of history in the West, until the Hittites' copy of the treaty was discovered in 1906, of course. So today, if you visit Egypt, you will see carved in stone a lesson for the ages. Rulers bullshit their own people, spend vast wealth doing it, and they have been doing it for thousands and thousands and thousands of years. Now you have to understand that is all that people do, and we're going to get into some of these in the future, but you take a look at 9/11, Gulf of Tonkin, the sinking of the Lusitania, Pearl Harbor, the Reichstag fire. I mean, today these things would be called false flags, or if you want to put it another way with the Hegelian dialect, would be problem, reaction, solution. You create a problem, there's already a solution ready to go before the problem and the solution are created at the same time. And then you have the reaction that you want out of the two. So let's take the Reichstag fire. We'll get into it later, but let's just say Hitler wants to take control. Let's just say he says there's a whole bunch of terrorists, and there's someone that's plotting to do something to him. So he goes out, finds a patsy, blows up the government building or sets fire to the government building, declares martial law, becomes chancellor. All planned out, all designed. Or if you look at some of these, the Sandy Hook shooting or the Aurora shooting, disarming the American population in the greater sense, disarming the entire planet so we can't fight back or defend ourselves against a tyranny that's encroaching steadily day by day. That's what you do. So then you find out, a guy went into a movie theater and shut up a bunch of people, or a young kid went into a school and shut up a bunch of kids. But let's not look at the fact that they were loners and that they were losers and that they had psychological problems and they were on psychological, pills and all the different problems that they had. No, it's the guns. The inanimate object of the gun killed people, so we have to take away all the guns. And you can go into the whole, mind control and we'll get into that in, weeks or so. We got plenty of time, I think, before the world goes totally to shit. But the Ramses story just goes to show you that if you set your stall out, then you could relate it back to Obama. Obama gets in, all the black people vote for Obama because he's black, which is inherently racist to vote for somebody just based on their skin color, but nobody will ever tell you that. But he comes into power, he says he's going to, give you cheap health care, you can keep this and that, or, he's going to, have all these shovel-ready jobs, and the economy's going to get better, unemployment's going to go down, we're not going to have any wars, all the aid to different countries is going to go down, we're going to be loved around the world. He went on this little tour of Europe and the Middle East, apologizing for America, saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, I'm your man, this and that. And he lied. But, we can't say anything because he just completely brainwashed everybody. We've had all these uptight white people as a president before. They completely suck. They did everything wrong. But now a young, brash, outstanding, well-spoken black man takes over, and everything's supposed to be all right, right? Not. The fuck is going on? Seems like we're living in a fucking Twilight Zone.
I started to realize that eternal fate has turned its back on here. It's 2 a.m. It's 2 a.m. The fear is gone. It's 2 a.m. The guard's still warm. Yeah, there's a storm on the loose. Sirens in my head. Wrapped up in silence. Circuits are dead. Cannot decode. My whole life spins into a frenzy. Am I stepping into the twilight zone? spiral, destination unknown. Double-cross messenger, all alone. Can't get no connection, can't get through, where are you?
Right here, baby. Yeah.
Well, the night weighs heavy on his guilty mind. This far from the borderline. When the hitman comes, he knows damn well he has been cheated.
Black America, yeah. Feel it, baby. Funky. Yeah, you're bobbing your head and tapping your foot, I know. Boom, 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 boom. Oh, those some sick chops, baby. I've come too far. This next one's going to be a little interesting. Here we go. In the year 1200, Europe entered a period of prolonged cooling which lasted until the mid-1800s. This is called the Little Ice Age. Europeans did not clearly understand climate, and owing to theocratic rule following the collapse of Rome, had turned their backs on science. These were the Dark Ages. All of that happened was presumed to be the will of God. Priests pray to God to halt the glaciers advancing on the villages. But as the villages succumbed to ice, the church, rather than admit the failure, not unlike Al Gore, began to blame supernatural magic forces for the increased cold. Seeking a scapegoat, the church set up upon those individuals who still held knowledge outside that allowed by the churches. These educated and wise people with wit, oh God, not me, were declared heretics and witches. A phrase in the Bible, "Thou shalt not suffer a poisoner to live," was retranslated into "Thou shalt not suffer a witch to live," and the church now had a perfect scapegoat to blame the unstoppable cold on. For the next 3 centuries, up until the incident in Salem, Massachusetts, innocent people were blamed by the church for everything that went wrong. If something bad happened that God could not make go away, it was because of witches. If something bad happened that God could not make go away, it was because of witches. Cold weather, blame the witches. Plagues, blame the witches. Failed crops and livestock, blame the witches. Waxy yellow buildup on your kitchen floor, blame the witches. Witch hunting became a full-time profession. The accusers and prosecutors grew rich on the confiscated wealth of the condemned. Politicians, business competitors, and even jealous wives quickly learned that they could dispose of a rival with impunity with a simple accusation of witchcraft. We all know today that there are no witches, at least as they were conceptualized by the church. No witch is able to hop on a broomstick and interfere with passenger jets. No witch was ever able to transform himself or herself into an animal. It's all make-believe, and it makes for great books and fun movies. But the evil crimes depicted in the the Malleus Maleficarum never occurred. The confessions on which the Church's assurances of witchcraft were based were extracted under torture, some forms of which are still sadly used by the United States today, i.e. waterboarding. For 3 centuries, religiously induced terror and horror stalked across the landscape in Europe. As grains and cereals on which Europe had failed, much hardier potatoes were introduced, but the Church declared them the food of the devil because they grew in the ground. Millions starved standing on an abundant food supply. Afraid of eating a potato would condemn their souls to hell. When the plagues hit Europe, religious Phlegons travelled from town to town, spraying the diseases in droplets of blood flung from the end of their whips. As the epidemic escalated in the wake of such rituals, the Church fanned the bloodlust for the witches. Nobody really knows how many people were tortured and killed during the witch trials. The number increased and decreased depending on the agenda of who is reporting the number. Conservative estimates of victims executed for being witches is at 250,000. Estimates of those tortured and then released is considerably higher. Now, all of the madness and self-delusions man is collectively engaged in search for and execution of witches, stands as a monument to all that is dark and fearful in the human mind. A few grew rich and powerful, while all around them 1 million people writhed in agony and death. If there is a moral to be found here, it is that the execution of the accursed witches in Mexico in the 1900s, then comparable to the evils at Guantanamo Bay, proves that we, so far along in history, that we are not so far from the rack and the stakes we'd like to pretend. We comfort ourselves with the idea that the Dark Ages are so long ago and far removed from our modern enlightened age. But the truth is that the fanatics can tear down civilization rather quickly. You burn the library at Alexandria, you flay the librarian alive, burn the rest of the books to heat the public baths, and set fire to anyone who refuses to bow to the bovine excrement. Oh yeah, so witches, yeah. And you see, you laugh, and you say, oh, well, this, no, but there's a time that that you turn away from common sense. People all the time on Facebook and Twitter think that they're celebrities. They've got so many friends. They're so inclusive in anybody's lives. Oh, look, Andrea went to the lake, and so-and-so's here, and so-and-so did this, and so-and-so's got this event going on. It's like, oh, look at me. I'm so into people's lives. I've got so many friends. I know everything that's going on. Man, this is great. I love, this voyeurism. I know this. But you're a nobody. If you're spending and wasting your time on social media all the time, and stupid girls in taking selfies with little duck face, with little cutesy face, and dudes posing in the mirror with their 6-packs and this and that, like, who has time for that? Why are you doing that? You think you're so much more enlightened than what people were all that time ago, just because we have technology now, and just because we have running water now, just because we have all these different automotives and all these different ways of traveling and of sending information. You think that people aren't still in the state of where one group of people says one thing and then it just goes for everybody? It's like if I say, oh, I'm against gay marriage, or I'm against, I think that homosexuality is a genetic disorder and a mental disorder. People say, oh, no, it's not. You're just a bigot. You're just a homophobe. Well, you can't just paint people with a broad brush like that. And then people say that I do that. That you're just painting all politicians as corrupt and money-grubbing and power-hungry bastards. But that's not right. They're probably nice people. They're just confused, or they're just inept, or they're just unqualified. And they're not bad people, Ben. They're not at all. Yeah, well, guess what? I'm not dependent on those people for my subsidies. I'm not dependent on those people for contracts. I'm not dependent on those people, to go to their little galas and their little balls and their little fundraisers, okay? We are being lied to every single day. It doesn't matter if it's with the Obamacare, the NSA, like I said before, Fast and Furious, the Syria, with 9/11, with false flags. It's all bullshit at the end of the day. And all this week, that's all we're covering. It's bullshit. Bullshit and more stinking piles of bullshit. See you later.